Hi, it's Anna Marika Gerritsen, call me AMG, and in today's episode 8 of the Endometriosis Nutritionist TV, we're continuing on with looking at your gut and the fact that you in all likelihood have leaky gut. So in episode 7 we talked about what is causing it and how it is underpinning your endometriosis, and it all comes back to inflammation. So our constant focus on using nutrition, what you eat and what you drink, is to heal, to reduce that inflammation so that endometriosis cannot spread and grow, and that's what we want. And we want to start to heal some of those lesions that it's causing, and so that over time will reduce your pain, will reduce all sorts of other symptoms. So it's one thing to know that you probably have leaky gut, and it's another to know what to do about it. So you don't necessarily need to have been diagnosed with leaky gut to be able to take some steps right now through nutrition, through food, to start healing it, because you'll start to see an improvement over time, whether you've been diagnosed with it or not. Diagnosis is quite invasive. It requires a biopsy, and I'm sure that you are over surgery, biopsies, etc. And when we look at, I'm going to give you 6 nutritional strategies you can use to start healing your gut. Those are all anti-inflammatory and will help you regardless. So even if you haven't been diagnosed. So there's 2 elements about healing your gut. One is to stop eating certain foods, because we know that certain foods contribute to leaky gut and in fact are probably the cause of it. And another is to eat more of other foods. And in episode 6, when I talked about PEA, I did talk about a PEA being able to help healing a leaky gut. So that could be sort of a strategy 7 to add this supplement to your overall set of strategies. But first, let's look at what foods you should remove from your diet to help your gut improve. Because unless you remove the ones that cause your gut to be inflamed and create permeability, there's no point adding foods or eating foods that would heal it. So the number one, and I keep coming back to it, and you'll hear me saying it over and over time, the number one food to remove is wheat products. Wheat contains gluten, or any gluten containing foods for that matter. Because there are more than wheat products. Oats, for example, also contains gluten. So gluten is a protein. It makes dough stretchy. And although it's a protein, it's not a protein that our bodies can do anything with. And most women with endometriosis have an intolerance to it. So you don't have celiac disease, but you have a gluten intolerance reaction. And that creates your gut wall, causes your gut wall to be inflamed, and that causes damage, and that creates the fact that undigested food particles can get through your gut wall, which are normally not supposed to do that, which triggers the immune system. So we talked about all that last week. So removing gluten is absolutely key. If you don't do anything else about your diet, please consider trying to go gluten-free. And we don't need gluten. It doesn't really provide any nutritional value. But if you have bloating, if you have diarrhea, constipation, even if you have migraines, brain fog, remove gluten. The second food to remove is dairy products, because the protein in dairy has the same effect on your gut as gluten protein. So it's not the lactose in milk and in dairy that is a problem, it's the protein. So going lactose-free milk is not going to help you. We know that if you had chronic ear infections as a child, you're probably intolerant to dairy protein. So you definitely should go off dairy. But initially, it is when you're trying to heal your gut, it is a good idea to just avoid dairy altogether. And I know that is hard for some of you, and I would find it really hard because I'm Dutch, and I think we are raised on dairy. But yeah, really, go off it for a good 6 months to really allow your gut to heal, and don't put any more irritants in it. It's one of those things where if you do it well, and don't sort of do it half-heartedly, because then you won't see the results that you're after. Now, the third type of food that you want to remove is anything processed. Anything that comes in a packet. It contains sugar, salt, and a lot of additives that our digestive system simply cannot process. And that causes irritation, inflammation, and the more inflammation you have, the worse your leaky gut becomes, and it gets this vicious cycle. So those are the 3 things to remove: gluten, dairy, and anything processed. Back to whatever grew in the soil, walked on the soil, or is produced by something that walked the earth, right? So let's look at 3 foods that you can add that are really gut healing foods. And the first one is really helpful in repairing the gut lining and overall reducing inflammation, and that's bone broth. And it's very easy to make yourself. There's a lot of good recipes around it. It's basically simmering bones, and the collagen from the bones will help to rebuild the lining of your gut. And you would drink it as you would tea or coffee. You can add it to stews and sauces and anything that you cook. So look around for a recipe for bone broth. I know that most paleo recipes websites will have bone broth recipes, and it's really not hard to make. But it's a really powerful way to start healing your gut, because it's the best way to get collagen straight into your gut. If you're a vegetarian but you do eat fish, then you can use fish bones as well. The second food to add is fatty fish, because omega-3 fatty acids are well known and well researched anti-inflammatories. So eating fatty fish like salmon and tuna or mackerel or trout at least 2 or 3 times a week will really help heal the gut process. No, will not help heal the gut process. Will start the gut healing process. That was a weird sentence. So eat more fatty fish. And then the third strategy is to use probiotic foods. And those are foods that are fermented and they contain the good bacteria, because you need all those good bacteria for your body to function properly. And the problem with leaky gut is that because of the damage to the gut wall, the good bacteria have less space to adhere, because they live on the gut wall. And so you need to add more good bacteria, but also because they are healing and they help you with a lot of things. And we talked about the microbiome before. Now, here's the tricky bit. A lot of dairy products like yogurt and kefir and cheese will contain the good bacteria, probiotics. But I just recommended you go off that for a while. So find it in fermented vegetables. And when you look for fermented vegetables, you need to find those that have been pickled in salt, not in vinegar. So when you look at, for example, olives are really good, but you want to make sure that you pick the ones that are salt fermented and not vinegar fermented. So there you go. So 3 foods to remove: anything with gluten, dairy, and anything processed. So really clean, natural eating. And foods to specifically add are bone broth, fatty fish, and probiotic foods, so fermented vegetables. And then people often ask, how long does it take to repair my gut? Well, that depends. I know that's not very helpful, but your body takes the time it takes. If you go off the foods that I talked about, I think you should see an improvement fairly quickly, especially if you have bloating, diarrhea, constipation, and head fog. But it will take time for your gut to repair. So this is a commitment you make, and I definitely recommend that you make this commitment for at least 6 to 12 months, and perhaps even longer. It's not a quick fix, but it is important that we heal your gut, because you are not absorbing all the nutrients you need. You're creating an extra immune response that we don't want, because your immune system already is a little bit sensitive, and so you need to heal that gut. All right, well, that's it for today. I'm Anna Marika Gerritsen, and I'll see you again next week for another episode of the Endometriosis Nutritionist TV. Bye for now.